Velvet curtains billow in the torchlight, their crimson folds glowing like an open wound as you step into the hall. The scent of roasted peacock and cinnamon-dusted wine curls through the air, thick, enough to make your stomach growl even if you'd sworn not to eat. Above you, chandeliers drip wax like slow tears, and somewhere near the musicians a lute string snaps with a twang that makes everyone turn for a heartbeat. You're at Lucrezia Borgia's wedding feast, and already the room feels like a stage set for disaster. You probably won't survive this, at least not without a story that burns holes in your conscience later. If something I share resonates with you, feel free to like the video and consider subscribing, only if you truly want to join me on this journey. You press forward, shoulders brushing against silks and brocades. Every noble in Rome has squeezed in here, more to watch than to celebrate. The Borgia family knows spectacle is currency, and this banquet is basically a gold coin flipped into the air. You can almost hear the clink. Pope Alexander VI himself, father of the bride, presides like a chess master who has placed his pieces exactly where he wants them. You notice the glimmer in his eyes. Not tears of paternal pride, but the shine of someone tightening a noose around rivals. The bride, Lucrezia, only about 18, sits glowing under veils of pale gold. Her face is lit like an icon, but the rumors already paint her with stranger colors. Some whisper she's too close to her father. Others claim her brother Cesare controls her like a knight moving at his command. The poor groom, Alfonso of Aragon, might be the one in white today, but you sense he's a pawn in a larger game. He smiles bravely, yet you notice the way his fingers twitch on the goblet, as if counting prayers. The musicians strike up something festive, though it sounds suspiciously like a funeral march if you tilt your ear. Plates arrive. Roasted swan stuffed with smaller birds, gilded sugar figurines of mythic heroes, even candied pine nuts so sweet they make your teeth ache after one bite. The Borgias don't do subtle. They want every noble tongue wagging, literally and figuratively. A mainstream historical fact slides right into your mind here. Renaissance weddings were political contracts first, and personal unions second. Tonight's union is Rome's attempt to secure an alliance between papal power and Neapolitan muscle. Romance is about as important as the parsley garnish. You glance across the table and notice Cesare, Borgia himself, hawk-faced, eyes like daggers. He claps politely, but his gaze flickers, weighing everyone like cattle at auction. One fringe tidbit sneaks into the evening. Some guests whisper that Cesare once carried a hollow ring filled with powdered poison, ready to tip into any rival's cup with a handshake. You grip your wine a little tighter. A joke slips out of you, quiet, but it eases the tension. Nothing says true love like a buffet that could kill you in 17 different ways. The woman beside you, draped in emerald velvet, chuckles nervously before pretending she didn't hear. The bride, aunt, and groom are finally called to dance. Alfonso takes Lucrezia's hand. She rises, floating as if her slippers never touch the ground. The hall hushes. The pair circles slowly, graceful enough to convince the crowd for a moment that this might be about affection after all. You lean forward, caught in the hypnotic swing of her gown. But when the music ends and Alfonso leans in, you notice the way Lucrezia tilts her head, not toward him, but toward the gallery where her father watches. A shiver crawls down your spine. More wine, more laughter. Jesters tumble into the hall, juggling torches that nearly set a noble's wig aflame. That gets a hearty laugh from Cesare, who slams the table so hard a goblet topples. The mood is boisterous now, but beneath it thrums a current of unease, like an orchestra warming up for a piece no one wants to play. You find yourself half listening to the chatter around you. Someone speculating about which duchess will faint first, another betting on how many children Lucrezia will bear in the first year. Your inner sarcasm can't resist. Imagine being reduced to baby production quotas while eating candied swan. Romance time blurs as servants parade course after course. Marzipan towers, spiced mulled wine, even a whole roasted boar carried by 6 sweating men. You can hardly tell if you're full or just dizzy. Then comes the moment everyone anticipates, the symbolic escort of bride and groom toward their chamber. The candles seem to flicker lower, conspiratorial, as the couple disappears behind carved oak doors. The hall bursts into a clapping, half celebratory, half voyeuristic. The applause doesn't quite mask the wagers being made under the table, how long the consummation will take, whether Alfonso will survive the night, how many times the act will be repeated before dawn. You trail the crowd just far enough to glimpse the heavy doors shutting. The hinges groan like an old gossip who's seen this all before. The nobles begin drifting back to their seats, though the chatter rises. The wedding feast is only half done. The other half, the one that will fuel rumors across Europe, has just begun behind those locked doors. You sip your wine, suddenly dry-mouthed, and feel the air shift. Scandal is not an accident here. It is choreography. The torches sputter. Someone strikes up another tune, louder and bawdier, as if to drown out any sounds that might leak from the chamber. But you can't help tilting your ear, half amused, half horrified, like knowing that what happens next will stamp Lucrezia Borgia's name into history like a seal pressed into hot wax. The doors close with a weighty finality, oak panels swallowing bride and groom in one gulp, and you find yourself standing in the corridor just long enough to feel the goose flesh creep along your arms. The chamber behind those carved doors is meant to be private, yet you already sense half the palace leaning in, ears pressed, eyes darting, imaginations sprinting ahead. You follow, not in body, but in the sly, uninvited way. Scandal pulls everyone along. Inside, the air thickens. Heavy curtains drape the bed, embroidered with golden vines curling toward tias, a canopy like a living garden that forgot to wither. Candles flare in every corner, their wax pooling into strange shapes, like they too are eavesdropping. Alfonso sets down his goblet on a marble stand, the metal clinking with just a tremor. Lucrezia lowers her veil, but you catch her eyes glinting through silk, a look that's both shy and knowing, practiced for an audience she never truly escapes. You hear the shuffle of servants just outside. They are here not only to attend, but to testify. Because in Renaissance Rome, the act of consummation isn't private passion, it's a notarized transaction. The legitimacy of the marriage, the political alliance it represents, depends on it. One mainstream historical fact fits perfectly here. Noble consummations were often witnessed indirectly, either by attendance in the room or by collecting proof the next morning. Privacy was as fictional as a dragon in the Vatican library. Alfonso leans toward Lucrezia, nervous but eager, and you sense the hush deepening. Somewhere in the corridor, a pair of courtiers place bets like they're gambling over horse races. Someone whispers, 5 minutes or 20? Another replies, depends if he's drunk the Neapolitan wine. You roll your eyes. Apparently love is a stopwatch sport tonight. You shift to the edge of the bed, figuratively speaking, and watch the groom fumble with the elaborate lacing of Lucrezia's gown. Renaissance fashion is essentially armor designed by sadistic tailors, silk cords that knot like ship rigging. Alfonso mutters, tugging at ribbons, until Lucrezia herself sighs and undoes the bodice with graceful ease. You almost snort aloud. Nothing says romance like watching your bride speed unlace herself faster than you can manage. You think. The first consummation begins, awkward, weighted with pressure. Outside the chamber, muffled laughter rises and then abruptly quiets, as though the crowd senses when to hush. The act is not just two young people fumbling through intimacy. It's the Borgias declaring victory. When it ends, Alfonso leans back, flushed, while Lucrezia adjusts her hair as though she's preparing for a portrait. The attendants, satisfied, drift back just enough to murmur confirmation down the corridor. Yes, the marriage has been sealed, but the night is long and scandal rarely settles for a single headline. Alfonso, whether from nerves or from something stronger in the wine, rises again. The bed creaks, the curtains sway. You can almost hear Cesare's smirk echoing from the great hall. That's when the second round begins, quicker now, less ceremonial, and more competitive. Someone outside actually cheers. You stifle a laugh, whispering to yourself, ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering the bonus round. A quirky tidbit floats to mind. Renaissance Italy loved recording lurid details in unofficial chronicles. Half diary, half gossip column. One chronicler once noted how noble guests compared consummation stamina the way modern fans argue about soccer scores. Tonight feels exactly like that. Statistics in the making. The second act ends with Alfonso collapsing back into the pillows, Victorious, exhausted, exhausted. Servants hurry to refill goblets, the chamber thick with wine fumes and candle smoke. Lucrezia, cheeks flushed but composed, whispers something you can't quite catch. Alfonso laughs, tension melting from him like frost in sunlight. You realize this is not simply performance for the crowd. For a fleeting moment, there's genuine warmth here, a bond forming beyond contracts and alliances. And yet the night refuses to close its curtain. Alfonso, emboldened, whether by youth, pride, or sheer recklessness, pulls himself up for a third attempt. By now, word has spread like wildfire. The hall beyond is buzzing, a tavern masquerading as a palace. Bets are being doubled. A duke is said to have lost his signet ring in the gambling frenzy. Someone outside jokes, "At this rate, he'll need a physician more than a confessor." You chuckle, nearly choking on the absurdity. The bed groans under the third act, and you picture the scandal ink already drying in Rome's rumor mills. By dawn, whispers will reach Venice, Florence, even Paris. Lucrezia Borgia's wedding night was consummated not once, not twice, but thrice. The repetition transforms duty into legend, and legend into infamy. You realize how calculated this might be. The Borgias thrive not in silence, but in noise. 3 consummations guarantee that no one will ever forget. When at last Alfonso collapses, utterly spent, Lucrezia reclines like a queen surveying the battlefield. Candles gutter low, shadows pooling in corners like conspirators. The air reeks of sweat, perfume, and spiced wine. You half expect a scribe to burst in and jot down times and details like a court stenographer as dawn's first gray light nudges through the shutters. You step back, dizzy from the spectacle. You can't shake the sense that you've witnessed less a private union and more a stage play designed to echo through centuries. Outside, laughter and applause swell, as if the couple has won a tournament. You shake your head, whispering your third sarcastic quip of the night. Imagine explaining to future historians that your legacy is basically a Renaissance Olympics event. The doors creak open. Servants glide out, murmuring confirmations, while guests lean in like vultures feasting on gossip. The scandal is already airborne, impossible to cage. You turn away, your ears ringing, aware that dawn has only just begun, and yet the story of the night will ripple for generations. The oak doors ease open fully, and dawn filters across the marble corridor like pale silk unrolled after a banquet. You blink, rubbing your eyes, while nobles surge forward with the appetite of hounds chasing a scent. Servants murmur, faces carefully composed, but their eyes betray the thrill of carrying scandalous cargo. Behind them, the chamber reeks faintly of roses, sweat, and extinguished wax. A cocktail guaranteed to haunt gossip circles for decades. You trail the tide of whispers back toward the hall. Alfonso appears first, robe hastily tied, hair a little wild, face flushed with exhaustion and pride. He's walking like a man who just fought 3 duels and somehow survived all of them. Beside him, Lucrezia glides out like morning incarnate, veil freshened, lips curved in a smile too composed to be accidental. If Alfonso looks like the contestant, she looks like the prize ceremony. The crowd erupts. Laughter, clapping, even a half-drunk song bursts out. Nobles slap each other on the back. Wagers are paid in coins and jewels. And someone loudly declares, 3 times before dawn, the groom is either blessed by God or cursed by his physician. You can't help whispering your own quip. Rome just invented the Renaissance Guinness Book of Records. Lucrezia curtsies, delicate as a saint in stained glass. Yet you see how her eyes flick, always measuring, always aware. She knows this performance has secured not just her marriage, but her place in history. A mainstream historical fact presses into the scene. Renaissance chroniclers from Rome to Ferrara preserved such rumors about the Borgias with obsessive glee, ensuring that even the faintest whisper became an immortalized tale. The triple consummation may have been exaggerated, but once inked, truth and rumor fused like molten gold. Breakfast is laid in the hall. Eggs glazed with saffron, loaves of honey, bread, jugs of watered wine to cool throats raw from cheering. Alfonso eats ravenously, but Lucrezia barely nibbles, more focused on slipping through the crowd with her father's approving gaze upon her. Pope, Alexander VI beams like a man who's just bought half of Europe with a single signature. Cesare watches silently, lips curved in something between amusement and threat. You sip watered wine, muttering under your breath. Note to self: if Cesare ever smiles at you, run. The gossip machine has already shifted into overdrive. Courtiers whisper of Alfonso's vigor as proof that Naples breeds strong heirs. Others insist it was Lucrezia who demanded repetition, a femme fatale determined to ensure no doubt clung to her womb. And a quirky tidbit surfaces, murmured from an old merchant in the corner. Supposedly, a Neapolitan midwife once recommended a tonic of rooster testicles and cloves to guarantee stamina. You shake your head thinking, some wellness trends should stay in the past. By mid-morning, letters are being drafted, courier saddled, gossip carried faster than any sermon. Florence will hear by noon, Venice by nightfall, and Paris by week's end. The Borgias understand this perfectly. Scandal in their hands is not a stain but a banner. You realize they've orchestrated the entire spectacle, turning a wedding into a story no rival can outshine. And yet, beneath the pageantry, you glimpse something rawer. Alfonso, though weary, rests his hand on Lucrezia's arm with genuine tenderness. She leans, just slightly, into his shoulder. For all the manipulation swirling around them, two young people share a fleeting moment of uncalculated closeness. You exhale, realizing that even pawns sometimes find real warmth in the middle of a chessboard. The hall gradually empties. Nobles drifting back to palaces with scandal wrapped around their cloaks. You linger, steps echoing across the marble, and the enormity of what you've witnessed settles in. This wasn't just a wedding night. It was a performance that blurred private love with public theater, a consummation multiplied into legend, a story destined to ripple through centuries. You smile wryly. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen? Even that felt less messy than tonight. After Lucrezia Borgia's scandalous wedding night, the laughter faded, but the rumors spread into legend. History isn't only written by scholars, it's also shaped by drunk courtiers, servants, and enemies who embroidered the tale. Even if exaggerated, once a story is repeated enough, it becomes truth. That night secured alliances while also branding Lucrezia with an unwanted legacy, reminding us that power, love, and the need for validation are timeless human drives.